Great. Thank you so much, Randy. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy National Cybersecurity Career Awareness Week, as well as National Apprenticeship Week. It's a real honor to follow someone like John, and I appreciate all that he does at the Department of Labor. As Randy said, I serve as a policy advisor at the U.S. Department of Education, but I also serve as our STEM lead for the agency as well. And I also have served as the manager for the inaugural Presidential Cybersecurity Education Award, which we'll talk a little bit about today. So if we could please turn to the first slide. I'd like to thank NICE, particularly Davina Pruitt and Rodney Peterson, for inviting me to be part of this great panel today, as well as the sponsors. So with that, I'd like to welcome you to this fireside chat that we'll be having today with the 2020 Presidential Cybersecurity Education Awardees. We appreciate you taking the time to join and to learn more about the award itself and to have a great discussion with our inaugural awardees, Kara Forbear and Donna Woods. Before we jump into our fireside chat, I thought it would be helpful to provide a bit of background on the Presidential Cybersecurity Education Award itself. So the award, its origins date back to President Trump's executive order on America's cybersecurity workforce, which was signed on May 2nd, 2019. It had several directives for the U.S. Department of Education to work on, and the most important and the one that we'll talk about today is the award. We collaborated with the National Science Foundation, as well as the White House's National Security Council to get this award off the ground. The Secretary DeVos is very supportive of our educators, and we look at this award as a great way to recognize and elevate these great teachers for all the great work that they do. So last year, the call for nominations was announced during National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, October of 2019. The awardees were awarded during Teacher Appreciation Week in May of 2019. So at this time, if we could turn to the next slide, we will be having a great fireside chat over the next 25 minutes or so with our inaugural awardees, Kara Forbear and Donna Woods. This time I'll take a few minutes to read their sterling biographies. Kara Forbear currently serves as superintendent of the Eagle Butte Public School District. She participates in and contributes to collaborative and statewide educational technology-based initiatives with a practical focus on the school turnaround process to promote student success and education. Ms. Forbear has been recognized for her work as the 2019-2020 recipient of North Dakota Governor's Innovation in Education Award for Excellence in Building Leadership, as well as the award that we'll be talking more about today. Ms. Forbear continues to be active in educational leadership initiatives and contributes at the state and local levels to further develop robust, relevant, and equitable academic programming and policies for all learners. Education is Forbear's passion, and she strives to be a lifelong learner in her field and in life. Donna Woods is a high school dual enrollment ICT cybersecurity educator of 20 years in Moreno Valley, California. She also serves as the academic relations manager for SciEd Cyber Guild, supporting and facilitating collaborative efforts between industry partners, community colleges, high schools, and legislative leaders throughout California, as well as the United States. She is thoroughly dedicated to strategic mission and vision of NICE, ensuring equitable access to all students who endeavor to pursue viable ICT cyber careers. Ms. Woods has been recognized for her dedicated work through receiving the Riverside County CTE Educator of the Year in 2016, serving as the 61st Assembly District Woman of Distinction Award in 2018, as well as other accolades. So at this time, we will begin a great fireside chat with our inaugural awardees. So Kara and Donna, if you'd like to turn on your videos, it's a pleasure and a real honor to be with you today. So we'll start off, great. So we'll start off with a question. You all are the inaugural recipients of the Presidential Cybersecurity Education Award. How did it make you feel to be recognized in this way? And we'll start with Kara.
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, wherever you may be. In Eagle Butte, South Dakota at this time, and we're expecting a little bit of snow here, so I appreciate you all being here. It has been amazing. What a wonderful experience. I really believe that the creation of the award and the growth of the capacity and educational programming and opportunities for learners within the field of cyber security and cyber education overall has just been phenomenal. We're finally moving forward, I feel, in working towards meeting our cybersecurity needs as a nation. And if we can even do that from little old North Dakota and little old South Dakota, it just really highlights, I think, how globalized we really are, and the equity and access to internet services, period, is really foundational to that. So to be able to cast a spotlight on that and other things that are entailed with cybersecurity and cyber education as the boots on the ground, essentially, it's been exciting. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kara. And Donna, we'll turn to you.
Hi, yes, I concur with Kara, absolutely. It was first very much an honor, a shock and a surprise, but it gave accolades, not to just as individuals, but to an entire team of people, our academic partners, our industry partners, who without our program would simply not exist. It thrives because of them. So this was a celebration for all the efforts of our students' work, of our parents, of, again, our academic and industry partners, our nonprofit partners, and educators across the nation, and corporations like NICE and Cyber.org and Parallax, and all these entities that came together to help us build our curriculum, to help us reach those underserved students population. That is what we're about. We have we're Title I. Oftentimes people would look at our community and say, no, those students aren't capable of doing STEM or cyber, and it was just the opposite. So receiving the award was very much a validation to our students and to their families that yes, any student in this nation is very much capable and should be given the opportunity and the equitable access. And that's what NICE is about. That's what all the partners, all this collaborative, wonderful things you hear about, and why we're celebrating this week, right? Cyber Awareness Week and apprenticeships. That's so exciting. I loved hearing what John was saying, because that's our next foray, is going into more apprenticeships and those pre-apprenticeship programs. And I know it has been life-changing for our students, because many of our students are the first to go to college, they're the first to get degrees, and this career, cyber career, STEM careers, ICT, has changed their socioeconomic status, and they're paying it forward. So this award is all about that, right? It's recognition of everybody partnering together to truly make a difference and meet those workforce needs we have across our nation. So absolutely honored and humbled by it all.
Excellent, thank you. And again, we can't thank you enough for all that you have done in education and all that you continue to do. So thank you again. So Donna, you brought up the workforce shortages in our nation. So I want to turn to that if we can. As you know, a major theme of the NICE conference is the shortage of skilled cybersecurity workers. I think the latest numbers I've read recently, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is we'll have about 1.8 open cybersecurity jobs in 2022, which is not very far away at all. So what role do you all see the K-12 education system to help close that workforce needs gap? And I'll just open it up to whoever wants to go next.
Kara, would you like to address this first?
A few years ago, North Dakota established what's called the North Dakota Choice Ready Initiative. And it's an all-out framework for ensuring that our students, our learners, are leaving the K-12 system either choice ready, career ready, or military ready. And recognizing that there are many paths that an individual can take has been super, I think, powerful and empowering for students as they work to learn and build and become productive members of our community. Our choices are and curricular options, cybersecurity and cyber education, the career pathway it can be life-changing and exponential in how it impacts families who come from underserved populations, or that suffer from socio issues generationally. So it's been fantastic. It is transformational, and it's exciting.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. And we'll turn to Donna.
Yeah, for the labor market and the workforce, I'm so glad that NICE and globally, and I believe COVID and what we've been through has even brought greater attention, but I believe we need an entire national campaign going down to the elementary schools. And we've had a great lead in doing code.org and STEM initiatives, but now there's a cyber awareness across our nation that we really have to grab a hold of and make sure students from elementary school on up are receiving mentorships from our industry partners, that they're seeing people in the industry, male and female of every ethnic background, serving as leaders and getting to speak to them so they can begin talking about, yes, I'm capable of being that career and fixing that workforce need and being part of that workforce for my generation. I'd love to see first graders, second graders, third graders, the middle schools, the high schoolers. So as we're developing that college and career readiness, as we're doing the boots on the ground, like what Kara mentioned about, and getting the curriculum in there is providing a knowledge and awareness to families, to our communities, nationally across the nation about the workforce demand. This is not something we can outsource, and we have students and incredible industries that can do this together, but there needs to be a huge national awareness. I believe we're on the right track now. We've done more in the last 3 years than all the years prior. And again, that's because of all the hard work from NICE and several organizations, but definitely leading the way. Rewriting the framework was really important. Aligning the industry standards, very important. So now it's getting our communities aware, the parents, having a pure out national campaign that people understand this is a labor market workforce need, and we should start guiding our students in that direction because they come in, like I said, all different pathways, right? And there's a lot of different skill sets needed in this particular workforce. And I believe if we can start testing students in those skill sets early on and then help guiding their pathway, we'll have a much better opportunity at fulfilling those expected predictions of the workforce needs that are coming.
Excellent. Thank you both. So we've talked a little bit about the federal government's role and the K-12 system's role in cybersecurity education and even industry. But what role you've talked a little, Donna, and I'd love for you to keep talking about, what role can really communities play in illuminating cybersecurity as an attractive and a rewarding career opportunity? Oftentimes I get questions about how do we get kids to even look at STEM as a future profession? How do we get them to light up when we talk about future scientists or future cybersecurity professionals? So what role beyond school and industry and the great work that systems like North Dakota have done and even out where you are, Donna, what role can that community play in this process?
The communities are huge, right? You get your cities involved, your nonprofit organizations involved. They're key because they help the students see that cybersecurity is in every industry sector. Imagine a fireman, a police officer, the city hall showing the radio station, right? Your television stations, your satellite, how they depend on cybersecurity. Taking a student into the hospital that might be interested in the medical field and showing them how important it is to protect, right, the medical data and to keep all your own personal information safe. We've been able to do Girl Scout camps and youth camps, and the students get excited doing fun game challenges, any of the capture the flags, but getting the community invested, mayor's cups, fun things that you can do locally, right, with the youth, and having those fun capture the flag challenges, having the industry and corporations and community come behind it, inviting the community to come out and participate in it like you would any other campaign, right? Whether it's a Say No to Drugs, whether it's a reading campaign, it's important to have that grassroots community involvement and investment. Then the students get excited when they see our passion and when they see role models and leaders getting excited for them and opening up the doors of possibility, then they get excited and want to try. But if we don't start in our communities and if we don't show them the opportunities, they will never know. And they start going into the field and where we lack knowledge, of course, then they wouldn't make an investment in that. So it is about training our communities, training the parents, and having that grassroots connection of everybody working together to make it happen. And then the students get very excited about it. It's fun. And when they can see people in those roles and people that look like them, that come from the same community as them, when they can see them in their roles, that's very exciting to them. Then they believe in the possibilities.
Excellent, thank you. Same question for you, Kara. What can be done in the community space and even parental involvement? What more can be done?
Well, I'd like to really kind of say that I agree with everything Donna said there about, it has to speak to your community, really. Our local industry, who are our strengths with their organizations or individuals, and then even look a little broader in that scope as our state or your region within the state to see who people are, and then I've not only an expansion of these types of educational programming, but also to boost your economy. I mean, it is really an opportunity to grow there and to have a broader impact on not just education or just in the cybersecurity or cyber education field, but within your community as a whole. So the rewards of expanding upon these programs and these services not only affects us as individuals, as learners, as adults, as students, but as communities as a whole. So it can be very beneficial to everybody.
Excellent. Now I want to turn to diversity, equity, and inclusion in STEM. This is a huge goal that myself and my colleagues at NICE and the National Science Foundation and Energy and all the great science mission agencies in the federal government are collectively looking at very often. And so I want to turn to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it's well recognized that there's a shortage of women and people of color working in cybersecurity and IT related fields. And I'll even broaden that to STEM fields in general. What do we need to do in our schools to increase that participation of those underrepresented communities to explore more cybersecurity as a potential career pursuit? So we'll turn to Donna again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Such a great question. And I am very fortunate and blessed to work in the district that I work in the community that I work in. We have 74.8% Hispanic, over 14% African American. We have 93.2% on free and reduced lunch and breakfast. And we have 18% homeless now due to COVID. If it were not for the people believing that this curriculum was possible, and I struggled as a young girl growing up in STEM fields and having, for people to believe me as a girl that I should even be in the field when I loved math and science and going into the aerospace industry initially. I don't dye my hair, so I wasn't taken seriously for a long time, right? It's just like, no, this isn't the career for you. Thank goodness my parents believed in me and they, gave me things and opportunities and pushed me to fulfill my dreams. And I think we need to do the same for students. And like I said earlier, they need to see mentors. They need to see people who are in these careers that represent their cultural and ethnic diversity, right? That represent their male and female, that show them. When we do our Girl Scout cyber camps, we make sure our keynote speakers of women of every ethnic background that have roles, whether they're attorneys in cybersecurity, whether they're working in the field as systems analysts, whether they're leaders and managers in administration with Palo Alto or Google. And it's been very excited to invite my students back and let our students hear from them directly that, yes, I came from a poverty or a single parent home or didn't know my parents growing up, but now I work at Google or now I'm here. So that speaks volumes to the students. More than I could ever teach them in the classroom or a day is when one mentor comes in that they can associate themselves with, that is believable and passionate. That's how we will make the difference. And then beyond that, we need to make sure we're supporting our schools with their tools, not just the grants, but making sure that industry knows we need their mentors, right? It's grants and funding, but then that funding, we have to be fiscally responsible for it and making sure that it's going into the hands, and that we're training up everybody appropriately with the equipment, not just buying equipment, but doing that community outreach, doing the training of the parents and the community, helping them with the guided pathways, getting into dual enrollment, getting into colleges, doing those testing, right? Those inventory testing skills to find out what their natural gifting is, and then guiding them that way. And that's where I believe, again, it all comes down to the community and backing curriculum. There's so many things that we can do, but the most important thing in reaching that diversity is letting them see people already in the field being successful. That's what they're going to relate to the most.
Excellent. Thank you, Donna, for sharing your wisdom. And now we'll turn to Kara. Same question. Thank you.
Yes, with my work with Newtown schools, it really was a team effort. We were a school who needed some love, it needed some attention. And we took that mentality and that spirit with us. We remembered that we were learners first, and we live by that every day. And so being fearless and attempting to take on something that was maybe not so comfortable or was the unknown, what was the first step in making some progress. Our students, 90% Native American, 100% free lunch, generational poverty, and all of the other things that come with that have affected our community and our students. But we're people when it comes down to it at the end of the day. We're people. And so equity and access to programming, such as our partnerships that we developed with the Microsoft Teals, NYSERC, which is now known as cyber.org, and our statewide curriculum that North Dakota has developed for computer science and cybersecurity. Having the tools necessary, you can go low tech, high tech, mid tech, whatever it takes to get the job done. But as long as you're hand in hand and you're saying, we're going to do this and we're going to do this together, it's made all the difference. And anybody can do it from any.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Kara. Thank you, Donna. Now I want to look at, talk a little bit about those at the bedrock of our education system, great educators like yourself. There is so much data out there that talks about we have not only a recruitment, but a retention problem when it comes to STEM educators. So we have a difficult time in our nation finding those qualified teachers in our schools, not only to teach STEM, but also cybersecurity, like you all are doing. What advice would you give, what next steps would you say are necessary to better prepare teachers to support the long-term workforce needs in the area of cybersecurity? So we'll turn back to Donna. Thank you.
Well, great question, Jean. This is easy and tough. I did not start as a cybersecurity educator. I was CIS, then GIS. If it had not been for NYSERC, which is now Cyber.org, reaching out through their grant to our community to bring the training out to the math and English and teachers involved in CIS or in STEM, it sparked that interest. Then we started writing curriculum. Then we reached out to Cal State University, San Bernardino, and Synod, Cyber Guild. We started reaching out to people. And like Kara said, it was about me as an educator being a lifelong learner too. And was I willing to get outside of my comfort zone and try something new, or was I going to stay in what I already knew? And so, yes, it was a challenge, to write a curriculum when there wasn't industry standards at a time, to try to submit those for UC A to G, to go for the opportunity. So it was for me getting out of my comfort zone, and then we share that with other teachers when we go to conferences. You don't need to have the background. What we need to have is a belief and a passion in our students. We need to have support across from our administration. We need to have those incredible partnerships that are so important with like NYSERC, and which again is Cyber.org, but had written curriculum, Palo Alto Networks, which had curriculum, and then those industry partners being willing to teach us as well. I learn from them every day. And then I learn from my students every day. And I tell them at the beginning of the year, we're in this together. You're going to bring as much to the classroom as I am and what I can bring to you, because it changes exponentially and so fast. And on Friday, we ask and we do assessment. Do we know more today than we knew Monday? And how are we going to use that and pay it forward? What are we going to do and take it out to our community? So I always express to educators, do not be afraid to get outside of your comfort zone and try something new, because this is what our nation needs. And then partner up with those mentors. I keep going back to classes every summer. I went back to get my master's in it. I went back to get certification so I could be trained, by Cisco and CompTIA and Palo Alto, and those that are knowledgeable, so I can at least give my students a foundation and get them on the right course. But we can't be afraid to try. And those industry partners and people who are possibly looking at maybe retiring from the industry need to consider teaching. They need to consider, and then we'll help them on that side where they're terrified about teaching or classroom management. We'll help train them up. And that's why we do, in the summer, we invest in other teachers and make sure we're doing coaches and teachers training to let them know that it is a possibility. And we do that, with our Synod Cyber Guild partners in Palo Alto and all our partners, and NICE. We do that together so we can begin training other teachers. So that's the next big step, is that we have to help enroll teachers and get them outside of their comfort zone and then give them the tools they need.
Excellent. And we'll turn to Kara. Same question.
Yes. Really growing your own is not a bad idea. I'm going to have a go. Looking at those community partners that may be in different fields. And as fortunate as the time it is economically for many industries within the United States and global, teachers are still teaching, schools are still open, no matter what modality they're in. So it is, in my belief, a more secure profession. And if it's going to attract the right people to the industry, that we need to take, the opportunity for what it is. Additionally, having flexible certification pathways within your state organizations is very helpful as well. And the possibility of more of a push in recruiting through the teacher education program offer, working hand in hand or building some sort of a push for more cyber education or cybersecurity teachers, or even in the STEM field, sparking those college students' interests. You don't have to go to school to be a math teacher. You don't have to be there to be an ELA teacher. Being a STEM or cybersecurity or computer science teacher really is all encompassing. Everything is in. And so playing off of those passions of those younger students who are coming through the collegiate system is also another avenue. So there's lots of opportunity. We just need to see.
Excellent. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for taking time to talk today. And thank you so much for your superior, not only academic accomplishments with your students, but all the great accolades and all the great work that you've done for our nation and our students. Before we get to our final question, I'd like for us to put up the last slide. The last slide will give you more information to learn more about the Presidential Cybersecurity Education Award. The best way to find out information is just to go to ed.gov/STEM. There you'll find more information about the award itself, the rules, terms, and conditions, and learn more about our great inaugural awardees, Donna Woods and Kara Forbear. I do want to let you know that we will be announcing very, very soon the call for nominations for the 2020-2021 nomination year. So please, please, please stay tuned and check out our website. I do want to say, again, thank you to our teachers. To learn more about the award or how the U.S. Department of Education supports STEM, really encourage you to go to ed.gov/STEM. If you do have questions about the award itself, please feel free to email cyberawards@ed.gov. And for our last question, ladies, again, thank you for all that you have done. You were selected as the inaugural awardees, Kara representing the elementary level, and Donna at the secondary level in our K-12 system. What would you say to the audience who knows of an educator or two in their community who's worthy of this type of recognition? What would you say to them?
I'll start here, Jenna. I am very, very grateful for Jean, for the people that nominated me, for Synod Cyber Guild, for the work we did, and for all the people that came behind it. Had I not even known, again, because it was recognition of the work that we had done in our community and with our students. And I think for those of you out there, industry partners that are listening to it, if you know of an educator please nominate them, nominate a few. This is how we're going to get the information out nationally, right? To give people an awareness, to give people an awareness of the workforce need, to give people an awareness of the education need. And I know from educators I've spoken to all over the nation, right? At conferences. We know the hard work and labor we're doing. We know what they're up against technology-wise, and they keep striving and striving and striving. They are putting in long, long hours to make STEM and cyber a reality in their schools against all odds. And so again, it's not just about recognizing the individual, it's about raising up an awareness for that community and giving support to those educators and bringing more access to them, more insight to them, to their as a whole. It's something we have to do collectively. So if you know people or even more than one, please nominate them all. Get your assembly members involved, get your senators and congressmen involved, heighten awareness. We have always partnered with them, and they were a big backbone of our submission, and I'm so grateful for it. Our assemblymen and senators give certificates to our students just for their competitions, being part of the Capture the Flags. They make sure they come out and recognize their work. So this nomination and you putting forth an educator is only going to bring greater awareness across the nation. So please take the time to do it. It's a worthy investment.
Excellent. And Kara, any concluding thoughts before we turn it back over to Randy and the next panel?
Yes. It has been a delight and an honor to be recognized for that was done continues. But it is always a team effort. And though I'm happy to be awarded and recognized for my work, it's not ever just one person. So it'd be really where it's coming up, but to get the momentum going. However, it's all about being grassroots. It's about digging in. It's about doing what's best, knowing what your needs are within your community. So you can grow just the seed of ingenuity and a spark and a love for learning within a teacher, within that's not familiar with the field or within a learner, then that's where we need to go. Making those connections with your community partners and being loud and proud about what you do accomplish within your communities. Be proud and just keep working hard.
Excellent. Thank you so much for those concluding thoughts, Donna and Kara. Again, thank you so much for all you do for our nation's students and helping to prepare the cybersecurity workforce of the now and of the future. And on that note, I'll turn it back to Randy. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.